Looking back, New Orleans in 1853. When Marie Grace arrived in New Orleans in 1853, she felt as if she'd stepped into a different world. People spoke French. Music with African and Caribbean rhythms spilled from the public squares. Spanish-style buildings opened to shaded courtyards filled with lush tropical plants. The city bustled with excitement, as though a parade or a party was about to begin. New Orleans was different from the rest of America. To begin with, the city had never belonged to England. It was founded by the French and was ruled by France or Spain for almost 100 years. The United States bought New Orleans as part of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. At that time, the city's residents were a more diverse or mixed group than those of the rest of America. Native Americans and people from France, Spain, Africa, and Canada had lived together from the very start of New Orleans' history. Each group's culture and customs mixed with the others to create a unique way of life. New Orleans was also unique because of its location. Its position near the southern end of the Mississippi River made it an important port. Steamboats, like the one Marie Grace's Uncle Luke piloted, brought cotton, sugar, and other crops down the Mississippi River and into New Orleans. The crops were then loaded onto ships and sent to the eastern United States, Europe, and the Caribbean. From across the ocean, luxuries such as spices, fabrics, and fine jewelry arrived in New Orleans. Boats like Uncle Luke's delivered that cargo up the river, where it was sold throughout the United States. By the 1830s, New Orleans was second only to New York City as the most important center for trade in America. With so much business in the city, more and more people from other parts of the United States moved to New Orleans. Immigrants from Ireland, Germany, and other parts of Europe arrived as well. Newcomers, especially the Americans, were surprised at some New Orleans customs. Most people from the North, for example, believed Sunday was supposed to be a day of rest. After going to church, they did not travel or attend social events. People from New Orleans, on the other hand, enjoyed a European tradition called Continental Sunday. They went to church in the morning. Then they shopped at outdoor markets, attended parties, went to the theater, or even gambled. These were perfectly acceptable Sunday pastimes in New Orleans. But in the rest of America, they were considered shocking. One visitor from New England commented that people from New Orleans keep Sunday as we in Boston keep the 4th of July. Another thing newcomers found surprising was the large community of free people of color in New Orleans. In 1853, nearly a quarter of the city's population was of African heritage. Some were slaves, but thousands were free people of color, or gens de couleur libres in French. Like Cecile's family, many free people of color were well educated and well-to-do. They owned property and ran their own businesses. In New Orleans, more than in other large cities in America, people of different races and colors lived in the same neighborhoods. They shopped in the same stores and attended the same religious and cultural events, though they sat in separate sections of churches and theaters. Free people of color were not treated equally with whites in New Orleans, but they had more freedom and opportunity than black people anywhere else in America. Part of the reason for this freedom was that the governments of France and Spain had allowed slaves to earn money and buy their freedom. Free people of color also came to New Orleans from the French colony of Saint-Dominique, now the nation of Haiti. As these groups mixed and had families, they maintained ties to their African heritage as well as their European heritage. They were proud of their unique identity and built strong communities. The social scene in New Orleans was as vibrant and varied as the people who lived there. The city was full of elegant theaters, so residents and visitors enjoyed operas, plays, ballets, and concerts. People browsed in fancy shops and dined in fine restaurants. They took carriage rides through the city and strolled along the levee. Sporting events and horse races were popular. People in New Orleans were fond of parties, and they adored music. Most of all, they loved to dance. A visitor from France commented that, in the winter they danced to keep warm, and in the summer they danced to keep cool. Balls were held throughout the week, and Sunday was an especially popular day for dancing. The grandest balls occurred during Carnival. The French brought the custom of celebrating Carnival to New Orleans in the early 1700s. Carnival began on Twelfth Night, 12 days after Christmas, and ended on Mardi Gras, the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. In French, Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday. It is a day of feasting, merriment, and lots of dancing. Today, parades mark the end of Carnival in New Orleans. When Marie Grace's story takes place, balls were the highlight of the Mardi Gras season. There were different balls for children and for adults. The children's balls took place early in the evening in the same ballrooms that later hosted balls for the adults. Some grown-ups were so eager to dance that they joined the children. When it got too crowded, the adults had to be told to wait their turn. There were also separate balls for white people and for people of color, though they were often held in the same buildings. For all ages and colors, the magical part of Mardi Gras was dressing up and dancing. As Marie Grace and Cecile discovered, putting on costumes and masks gave people a chance for mischievous adventures and memorable celebrations. Many of the things that made New Orleans different from the rest of America in the 1850s are still part of the city's charm and character today. The mix of cultures that shaped its history can be seen in the architecture, music, food, and people that make New Orleans the unique and vibrant city it is. If you enjoyed this book, please like it and share so that others can enjoy it as well. Thank you.